Hello everybody! Today I'm going to do the Alphabet Soup book tag, which was recently created by Sean the Book Maniac. I'll link you to his original inaugural video in the description box. Sean has by now revealed the questions for the letter N, but I still have to do the ones for the letter A, for which I was kindly tagged by Erica from The Broken Spine. Her channel is even newer than mine, so make sure you check her out. She is linked down below as well. Sean has thought up 12 very random and whimsical questions, all surrounding the letter A, questions or tasks. And the first of these is A is for author. A good book by an author whose first name or last name starts with the letter A. First names are too easy, so bonus points for surname, double bonus points for first and last name. I had a hard enough time finding a good book by an author whose surname starts with an A, so no double bonus points for me. I tried to pick one that is perhaps a bit out there and that not everybody might have heard of. I picked The Moon by Warlight by Diane Ackerman. That is The Moon by Warlight and Other Adventures Among Bats, Penguins, Crocodilians and Whales. This is a nature writing collection of 4 essays about these 4 kinds of animals, their behavior, ecology, their habitat, and in each case about the impact that humans have had on these animals and their habitats. Diane Ackerman is no biologist. She has degrees in humanities, but she does have field experience in all topics that she writes about, and she always works together on these essays with people who do have degrees in sciences and also long experience in these fields. And on top of being informative, these essays are also written beautifully. I recommend this to anybody who has even the slightest interest in animals and nature writing. Question or task number 2 is A is for, well, A. The last book you read with the article or one letter word A in the title. And that is still A Brief History of 7 Killings. I am so glad that this is still the one, because I realized that in the short review that I did a short while ago, I neglected to mention one very important thing about this book, and that is, you wouldn't think so in a book that is about gang culture and the violence and misery of slum life in Kingston, but this book is also riotously funny. The jokes are not of the kind that is at the expense of poor and underprivileged people, but rather they are either at the expense of the Americans in this book, who are being stupid white men and women, or they are of the absurd and situational kind. And the situations are often horrific, so the humor is all the more welcome and needed. Number 3, A is for angry, a book that pissed you off. Half the books I read piss me off, to be honest. So I picked one by an author whose surname starts not with 1 A but with 2 A's. I picked Rivers of London by Ben Aaronovitch, I don't know, don't care either, because I hated the book. What pissed me off about this book is the relentless objectification of women done by the main character and the character from whose perspective I think the whole book is told, and which goes completely unchecked, at least up to the halfway mark of the book or thereabouts, because this was the point where I tossed the book away. It pisses me off especially because the book is so popular, which seems to mean that not a lot of people have problems with this, so that makes me sad. Number 4, A is for awesome, a top read of recent years. Again, I picked one that starts with the letter A. This time it's the book and not the author, because otherwise how would I choose? I picked At the Loch of the Green Corrie by Greig. Oh, I just realized Andrew, of course, starts with an A, so double bonus points. This is rather off the beaten track, I'd say. It came out in 2011 and has 293 ratings on Goodreads, so not exactly a blockbuster. But almost all of the ratings are 5 stars, including my own. And that is no wonder, I think, because I don't think that anybody who thinks that they might be interested in this kind of book would be disappointed by it. This is the account of a weekend trip that the author took with 2 old friends to honor the memory of his friend, the poet Norman MacCaig, who had just passed away, and whose dying wish it was that the author, his protege, would fish in the Loch of the Green Corrie in the Northern Highlands in Essendon, where Norman MacCaig himself liked to fish. Of course, this isn't just the bare account of the trip, it is also about the natural history of the place, about the social history of the Highlands, and to a large degree a very personal account of the author taking stock of his life and his friendships and the relationships that he's had. I didn't expect that. I came for the nature writing, but I was pleasantly surprised by how casually and understatedly profound this book was in what it had to say about life. And I found myself in a lot of it, and that was reassuring. Number 5, A is for a book whose title includes at least 3 A's. This was surprisingly hard and I almost didn't find any, and I was so relieved when in the end I spotted this one, Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brien. This is the first in a series of 20 books, 20 and a half books set in the Age of Sail during the Napoleonic Wars. It is about Captain Jack Aubrey of the Royal Navy and his ship's surgeon Stephen Maturin. The series follows them around the world on different missions against the French Navy and as protection for the ships of the East India Company. But although it is quite action-packed, it really almost puts more emphasis on character study. It is, of course, about all kinds of characters that we meet on these missions, but in the center are the 2 main characters, Captain Jack Aubrey and Stephen Maturin, who are a very unlikely pair of friends and who act as a sort of counterpoint to each other. Jack Aubrey is very much a man of his time, the loyal, patriotic and war-hungry soldier type, whereas Stephen Maturin is almost modern in his views. It is a pleasure to follow these 2 around. I have read the first 5 books in the series, Master and Commander, Post Captain, HMS Surprise, the Mauritius Command, and Desolation Island. And up to the Mauritius Command I thought that each book was better than the one before, so big recommendation for this series on my part. Number 6, A is for annoying, a character that drove you up the wall. I tried to pick one that is reasonably well known, and I'm sorry to say that I immediately thought of the author of a memoir, Helen Macdonald, who wrote H's for Hawk. And I'm sorry that her father died at some point, but I thought she was just as insufferable as T.H. Wright, the author about whom she writes in this book, and who also had lots of personal issues and who also adopted a goshawk and who seems to have been just as insufferable as she was. So sorry, this book was kind of a letdown. Number 7, A is for ambivalent, a book that you're still not sure how you feel about. This one's hard because when I feel ambivalent about a book, I'm usually quite sure in this assessment, or I know exactly which parts and elements I liked and approved of, and which ones I didn't. And I don't think there necessarily has to be an overall verdict. So I think I'll just give this one a pass. Number 8, A is for anticipation, a book, a new release or not, that you're very much looking forward to reading. I am about to start and very excited about The Sellout by Paul Beatty. This won the Man Booker Prize in 2016, but I never felt tempted to pick it up until a few days ago when I listened to several old podcast episodes in which Paul Beatty read paragraphs from the book, and I thought that they were so funny, and I immediately went and looked for a used copy of this book, and I found one, and now I have it, and I'm very excited to start this tonight. Number 9, A is for Actually, a book you didn't expect to like but did. I'm always hesitant about classics, and I was particularly skeptical about Pride and Prejudice and Jane Austen in general when I read it as a 20-year-old and had never read Jane Austen before, but had a lot of prejudices based on the plot summaries, but also to a large degree based on the pictures that I had seen that were taken from those horribly overdone and overacted BBC period dramas. To this day, I cannot watch the BBC adaptation of Pride and Prejudice with Colin Firth and Jennifer Ely, I think is her name. I think she's the worst possible actress that I could have picked for Lizzie Bennet. And I only picked up the book because I wanted to know what all the fuss was about, and I ended up loving it. Number 10, A is for Affected, a character, book or writer you feel is pretentious. At first I thought, oh my god, Ian McEwan, T.C. Boyle, Philip Roth, Mario Vargas Llosa, Stephen Fry, Truman Capote, John Steinbeck, the better part of all living German authors. How on earth is a girl to choose? But then I knew I'm going to use this opportunity to vent my anger about one of BookTube's darlings that I absolutely hate, and that is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. You see, I am a classicist and I also have a degree in German literature, so when some tart comes along and goes, oh my god, I am so intellectual, I have read about 5 pages about the young Nietzsche, and now I have an idea for a novel that will show the world just how very cultured and intellectual I am, then I'm sorry, I just turn into the condescending Willy Wonka meme. Number 11 is for How's It Going, eh? I'm sure I said that wrong. In any case, a book you liked by a Canadian writer or one that you want to read. I have only read 3 Canadian authors so far. I think Margaret Atwood, Alice Munro, and Michael Ondaatje. I used to count The English Patient by Michael Ondaatje among my favorite books of all time, but I've recently come to doubt that judgment. I read The English Patient when I was 16 or 17 years old, and I loved it then, but I read Warlight by Michael Ondaatje last year and I absolutely hated it. I put it down at the 70-page mark or so after I had flagged it as an old white dude novel. And now I wonder if the grown-up me wouldn't pick up on the same things that I disliked about Warlight in The English Patient. Anyhow, Michael Ondaatje, Margaret Atwood and Alice Munro are awfully conventional choices for Canadian authors, so if anybody can recommend some good Canadian literature to me, I'd be very grateful. And the final question, number 12, A is for Anticlimactic, a book you thought fizzled out at the end. I picked a whole series for this one. I picked Temeraire by Naomi Novik. This is the 9th and last in the series League of Dragons. This is a series about books set in during the Napoleonic Wars, but in a parallel universe where dragons exist. And in Europe, dragons are used basically as aircrafts to fight in the wars. We follow the mighty dragon Temeraire and his captain all around the world, kind of like a fun counterpart to Master and Commander, if you like. I adored the series up to the 7th book, but then it just lost steam, and the 8th book completely failed to capture my attention. I got a couple of chapters in and then just thought, meh, and put it down, read a summary. And I did buy this one, obviously, when it came out, the 9th and final volume. But it was the same. I got a few pages in and then just couldn't be bothered anymore, and I haven't felt an urge to pick it up since then. I would still recommend this series though, because up to and including the 7th book, it is the greatest fun you'll ever have with dragons. And now for the tagging, because task 13 is actually A is for all the booktubers. Tag a swag of people. I tag Shannon from That's So Poe, Maria from MH Books, Kim the Paper Traveler, and Ariel from She Wants the Diction, so that I am not the only one who is only ever ranting. I'm looking forward to watching all of your videos. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a nice day.